대한민국 에너지의 미래 한수원이 만드는 중. 대한민국 에너지를 한수업. 한국 수력 원자력. 원자력 수출도 업.
Coming up on Arirang News. South Korea's president, lawmakers, and business leaders vow in one voice to support whatever is required to bring the 2030 World Expo to Busan. This as the on-site evaluation kicks off this week by the agency that'll choose the winning bid. South Korea's National Assembly grills government officials on politics, diplomacy, North Korea, and security. Heated discussions include the electoral reform and policies on Japan. Oil prices surge following some of the world's largest oil exporters, the OPEC Plus alliance, announcing a surprise cut in output, which they call a precautionary measure to stabilize the market. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in South Korea. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. South Korea's southeastern port city of Busan is all set to be the host for the World Expo 2030. Today, the president, lawmakers, and business leaders vowed in unison to support whatever is required to bring the World Expo 2030 to Busan. This as the on-site evaluation kicked off this week by the agency that'll choose the winning bid. Our Lee has our top story.
South Korea's National Assembly is stepping up to help show the country's capability of hosting the 2030 World Expo in the southeastern port city of Busan.
The 2030 World Expo would be the biggest international event that South Korea has hosted in 20 years. It has significant meaning economically, culturally, and diplomatically. Success will come from working as one team with a strong determination to win the bid to host the event in Busan.
A resolution was passed during a plenary session on Monday in support of such efforts. It included a commitment to providing bipartisan cooperation and support for whatever is required. The resolution also included the National Assembly's pledge to cooperate in improving transportation infrastructure, constructing event-related facilities, and ensuring sustainable use after the expo has finished. It was then delivered to the Bureau International Days Expositions, or BIE, delegation team. Major business leaders are also getting involved. Officials from BIE attended a luncheon on Monday hosted by Choi Tae-won, chairman of the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry and co-chair of the bid committee. 20 officials, including the president of Samsung Electronics, Park Seung-hee, and the South Korean ambassador to France, Choi Jae-chul, sat together for the luncheon. Choi Tae-won welcomed the delegation, saying that Busan is ready for the World Expo and the BIE will be able to enjoy beautiful scenery as soon as they arrive. Spot, a four-legged robot from a subsidiary of Boston Dynamics, led the way for the BIE delegation, while caricatures of each members were given to them as a present. After the luncheon, the delegation team also held meetings with Foreign Minister Park Jin, National Assembly Speaker Kim Jin-pyo, and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. Meanwhile, President Yoon Suk-yeol earlier on Monday urged every government institute to make the best effort in supporting BIE's visit to South Korea. The BIE delegation also visited Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square this evening, where a lighting event is taking place to help showcase Busan's World Expo bid. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
Government officials were grilled by lawmakers on the recent talks between the leaders of South Korea and Japan, as well as plans for electoral reform. These were some of key topics heated discussions at the parliamentary questioning today, dealing with issues ranging from politics and diplomacy to North Korea and national security. Our political correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
South Korea's National Assembly on Monday questioned government officials on politics, diplomacy, North Korea, and security issues. Rival lawmakers quizzed the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Unification, and Justice, among others. A key issue of the day was the recent summit between the leaders of South Korea and Japan. Lawmaker Park Yong-jin asked the Prime Minister about the Japanese government's plan to discharge radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant.
There are currently no plans to import seafood. We are thoroughly participating in the international investigation into the Fukushima wastewater situation and are negotiating with the Japanese government to conduct an independent inspection if necessary.
Another key issue for the day involved reforms to the electoral system that's been discussed by the Parliament's Committee of Whole since last week.
We should also move towards decreasing the number of seats, but that's not happening right now. What do you think about this?
I think when it comes to the number of seats, there needs to be a consensus among the people. There's also a need for discussion in the National Assembly.
Monday's question and answer session is part of the 3-day interpellation set to last until Wednesday. It is the second set of interpellations to take place in 2023. Meanwhile, Tuesday's interpellation session will cover economic issues, with Wednesday's session covering topics in education, society, and culture. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News.
The navies of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan stage a trilateral training today for 2 days amid North Korea advancing its underwater threats. Our defense correspondent Kim Hyun-sung reports.
A 3-way naval drill kicks off Monday between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. The navies of 3 countries are set to hold an anti-submarine warfare drill on international waters south of Jeju Island. This comes just 6 months after their last drill, which also focused on anti-submarine warfare. However, this latest exercise is a preemptive measure aimed at defending against North Korea's increasingly diverse threats, which include submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Rear Admiral Christopher Sweeney of the Carrier Strike Group 11 will be overseeing the training, which will involve several warships from each country. The South Korean warships participating in the exercise include the Yulgok-2, Chaeyoung, Daejeong, and Soyoung, while American warships such as the USS Nimitz, Decatur and Weinie Meyer, and the Japanese ship Umigiri will also take part.
For this trilateral exercise, we will use an unmanned underwater target. We expect to improve Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo's ability to detect, track, share information, and destroy through this exercise.
This 3-way alliance is something that North Korea has been unhappy about, made clear when it went ahead with an intercontinental weapons test on the day of South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol leaving for Tokyo to hold a bilateral summit with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Experts forecast further provocations to come from North Korea.
They want to send a strong message to the international community that the illicit missile and nuclear developments are justified because the United States and South Korea carry out joint military drills.
In addition to the anti-submarine warfare drill, there will be a search and rescue exercise on Tuesday, marking the first such drill in 7 years, which will strengthen cooperation in emergencies. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
China ratchets up its arms protests around Taiwan to show its discontent over Taiwanese President's overseas trip. More threats are expected as Taiwan is set to meet with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy amid increasing U.S.-China rivalry. Our foreign affairs correspondent Choi Min-jung tells us more.
Taiwan's president is currently in Central America for a 10-day trip aimed at shoring up ties with allies, and China is not happy. China's People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command said in a press release on Sunday that it recently carried out intensive maritime and air drills close to Taiwan. The drills are apparently in retaliation for Taiwan leader Tsai Ing-wen's planned meeting with Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. The leader is expected to meet with McCarthy in Los Angeles on her way back to Taipei later this week. Last Wednesday, China threatened retaliation if the meeting were to take place.
Should the leader of Taiwan engage with the Congress Speaker McCarthy during her transit in the U.S., it will be another provocation that seriously violates the One China principle, damages China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and undermines peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. We firmly oppose this and will take resolute countermeasures to fight back.
Speaking to the Global Times, Chinese military expert Fu Qianshao said if the meeting goes ahead, China will respond in a way similar to when then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August 2022. During Pelosi's meeting, China staged live fire drills around the island and stepped up military provocations. This time around, the experts said possible measures include large-scale exercises and combat patrols. Tsai arrived in Belize on Sunday afternoon following a 3-day visit to Guatemala, where she offered more cooperation. China and Taiwan are vying for influence in Latin America, as Beijing does not allow other countries to maintain diplomatic relations with Taipei at the same time under the One China principle. Taiwan is currently left with only 13 countries that recognize it as a sovereign state, as Beijing continues to try and convince those countries to also end diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Global oil prices surge following some of the world's largest oil exporters, the OPEC Plus alliance, announcing a surprise cut in output. Moon Hae-ryung reports.
Members of the OPEC Plus, made up of major oil producers and Russia, have announced surprise cuts of around 1.16 million barrels per day. Saudi Arabia's state media said Sunday that the country will be cutting its oil output by 500,000 barrels per day starting next month until the end of this year. The Saudi Energy Ministry described the move as a precautionary measure aimed at supporting the stability of the oil market. It also explained this is in addition to a reduction announced by the OPEC Plus nations last October, when they agreed to an output cut of 2 million barrels per day, which angered the Biden administration. To deal with soaring oil prices following the war in Ukraine, the US has been arguing that the world needs lower oil prices to support economic growth and prevent Russian President Vladimir Putin from earning more revenue to fund the war. The impact of the announcement was quickly felt across the global oil market. West Texas Intermediate, one of the main global oil benchmarks, surged by 8% to around $81 per barrel, which Bloomberg reported as the greatest intraday move in more than a year. Goldman Sachs also raised its Brent oil price forecast for the year by $5 from its earlier prediction, from $90 a barrel by December this year to $95. Before the announcement, oil prices in the first quarter of the year saw their biggest plunge since 2020 as a result of weakened demand over the pandemic and looming threats of recession. However, many watchers expect a strong revival in demand for oil despite the price hike amid the reopening of China's borders. Moon Hae-ryung, Arirang News.
With higher services expenses, food delivery apps are seeing a sharp decline in users as South Korea is returning back to normal from COVID-19. Our Shin Ha-young explains.
The growth of delivery app companies in South Korea stopped as people returned to normal life and dining out more frequently. On top of that, consumers have been abandoning delivery apps due to soaring delivery fees amid high inflation.
I used to order through a delivery app during the COVID-19 pandemic, but these days everything's gotten so expensive, including delivery fees, that I found myself cooking at home more often instead.
When ordering delivery food, I would spend less than $15 or under in the past. But now, as I have to spend more than that, I tend to take food out or only use the app when I'm with others.
In fact, according to Mobile Index, a big data analysis company, the three major delivery apps in South Korea posted an on-year decrease of nearly 20% in monthly active users in February. That's about 6.6 million fewer users compared to the previous year. The number dropped below the 30 million level for the first time in 2 years after reaching a peak of 36.8 million in December 2021.
With more consumers burdened by delivery costs, some restaurants have been offering discounts to reduce delivery fees.
You can easily see posters in front of restaurants that say customers can order food at cheaper prices if they visit and take their food out without ordering via a delivery app. This also comes as platform commission fees have become a burden for restaurant owners as delivery costs soar. In response, delivery app companies have come up with measures to cut delivery fees, such as through bundled deliveries, where they deliver to multiple locations in one journey. It's a huge change compared to the past when companies competed in the market for single-item deliveries. Meanwhile, one expert forecasts the drop in users will continue for a while.
Young members of the MZ generation who want convenience are the ones who order delivery food the most. Under a new bundle delivery service, which takes longer to get the meal, more people will take food out, leading to a further decrease in the number of app users.
She added that delivery app firm sales had grown fivefold over 3 years. But it will be tough to increase or even maintain those sales as consumer lifestyles shifted offline. 신하영, Arirang News.
A South Korean startup company is creating an ultra-realistic metaverse that mixes reality with a virtual world. People can even shop and watch performances in this virtual reality. Jung Eun-ju has more.
This is a shopping mall in the Metaverse, a 3D virtual space. Famous brand stores in the Metaverse look realistic. It's even possible to see the details and texture of a leather jacket. Cosmetics even have small letters on the back like in real life. A South Korean startup has developed the technology.
I thought my ability to work with delicate graphics would be a good match for the Metaverse, so I decided to focus on the Metaverse business.
The company's CEO has also worked in the game industry and became interested in virtual reality. The Metaverse boom happened at a time when he was trying to make more sophisticated, high-definition content.
When I became interested in virtual reality and its potential, I saw that there was a relative lack of high-quality services and content in the Metaverse market. So I took on the challenge and founded this company.
There's also a technology that lets people appear and talk in the virtual space. This allows users to get help while shopping or enjoy a concert in the Metaverse.
I discovered the potential of this company and think that realistic metaverse content and technologies such as culture or art shopping can impress the global MZ generation.
Startup companies looking to combine metaverse with artificial intelligence and lead next-generation metaverse continues. Jung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
South Korea plans to supply water from its 4 major rivers in response to potentially severe droughts in the southwestern region of Jeollanam-do province and the city of Gwangju. The Ministry of Environment announced on Monday that its drought contingency plan will make full use of the 16 barrages of the Han, Nakdong, Geum, and Yeongsan rivers. The ministry says it aims to stabilize supplies to water intake plants. There will be 2 levels of response depending on the intensity of a drought. This year's cherry blossom season is reaching its peak across the country, and here in the capital, Seoul, the city's iconic cherry blossom festival returns for the first time since the pandemic. Our Shin Se-byuk reports this beautiful scenery.
Delicate pink petals capture the essence of spring in South Korea. After a 4-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Yeouido Cherry Blossom Festival is returning from April 4th to the 9th.
It's a breathtaking sight here in Yeouido with cherry blossoms in full bloom along the Yunjungno Road. As soon as you walk along the street, you quickly realize it's a feast for the senses.
This year, the flowers began blooming 14 days earlier than usual, meaning the peak bloom also came early. With it, people are here early to see the whipping cherry blossom trees and the romantic atmosphere.
It's really nice to see the cherry blossoms because we don't have any cherry blossom or spring season in the Philippines. So it's my first time here, and it's so beautiful and pretty. And I came here with my friends to take photos and pictures. And
the air's great, the weather, the street, the people, they're all great. The whole road is filled with excitement. It's even more lively now that you don't have to wear a mask anymore.
Even before the official beginning of the festival, over 730,000 people came during the weekend. With this, the Seoul city government began implementing traffic control measures starting April 1st last Saturday, 2 days earlier than originally planned. Another measure put in place is increasing the number of subway trains during the first and second weekends of April to ensure a smooth flow of traffic and avoid any inconvenience for visitors. The best spots to enjoy the stunning view would be Exit 1 of National Assembly subway station or Exit 2 of Yeouido Station. Rain is in the forecast starting Tuesday, the official start day of the festival, meaning pink will soon turn green. So make sure to catch those amazing blossoms at their peak. 신새벽, Arirang News.
Suncheonman International Garden Expo in South Korea is brought back to life for the first time in 10 years. It's the biggest international event after the COVID pandemic, bustling with people and full of flowers. Our Choi Soo-young went there.
Living in the garden. The Suncheonman International Garden Expo is underway for the first time in 10 years. It opened on April 1st and will run through October 31st in the city of Suncheon, Jeollanam-do Province. Since the last time it was held, the city has grown the garden to more than 1 million square meters, which is more than 50 times bigger than Central Park in New York City. After 10 years of waiting, the new viewing points are also expected to capture the hearts of the visitors from all over the world. The garden is located near Suncheon Station, to which is connected by a 2.5-kilometer waterway called Dongcheon, where you can have the unique experience of taking a Korean-style gondola. Right when you enter, the air is filled with the fragrance of plants and flowers, which is relaxing for people exhausted by the pandemic. These include flowers grown locally such as pansies, anemones, and tulips. There's a rose garden, a play garden for kids, and so much more enjoy.
There's a lot more here than I expected, and the weather is warm, so I'm having a lot of fun. The garden is decorated so beautifully, and it's very spacious.
You can also stay here every night at a glamping-type facility called Shillange, which in the local dialect means peaceful rest. There are 35 individual tents, and each of them has its own concept with a river view. Tourists can chill in the garden and taste the fresh local foods of Suncheon. What else? There are also gardens representing other countries like the United States, France, and the Netherlands. It will be a great opportunity for foreign visitors to see how their country's gardens have been reinterpreted. On the west side of the expo is a garden in the style of a Korean palace, which provides a peaceful and quiet moment away from the city noise. The mayor of Suncheon said city officials took every effort to manage this expo successfully. In particular, he said that various efforts are being made to accommodate foreign visitors, with more than 2,000 volunteers dispatched to help with foreign languages.
There are numbers of volunteers who speak foreign languages fluently standing by. We will support people who visit in every way we can, using a variety of communication channels.
In addition, according to the official, they will find other ways to reuse this space in the future based on opinions collected from local residents. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News, Suncheon.
The unseasonable heat will take a brief respite starting tomorrow. As you can see, overall conditions will start to cool down from this point on. This is because a low-pressure system will be settling in tomorrow daytime, producing cold showers nationwide. Maximum temperatures in Seoul will be about 5 degrees lower than today at 22 degrees Celsius. As for the amount of rainfall, the further south you are, the more rain you'll be receiving. Regions with higher elevations on Jeju Island will see up to 200 millimeters. The south coast will see about 120. Parts of central regions, including Seoul, will see about 20 to 60 millimeters. With the rainfall, the extreme dryness will be alleviated a tad. Partly cloudy to overcast skies are expected for the morning hours. Seoul will start off at 12 degrees tomorrow. Highs in Seoul will get up to 22 degrees. Gwangju 21, Daegu and Gyeongju will be topping out at 21 degrees. Showers will continue into this Thursday. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a great start of the week. Good night.
I'm live! 저를 도와주시는 분들이
저희와 함께 해주시는 세션분들
아무리 봐도 이거 먹지 펜션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고
좋아요.